Hello, hello, hello. Welcome in right here, Fantasy Life on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. Kendall, Valenzuela, Adam Ronis with you on this Tuesday. We're getting ready for all things training camp. We've got a great show planned out for you today. We've got Paul Charchian joining us, going through the running backs that you need to be targeting in guillotine leagues, and it's just going to be a great day. Adam, how you doing? How's it going?
Yeah, doing well. It is going to be a great day. Training camp's underway. We got some
Mm-hmm.
news, a lot of drafts flying. So, yeah, it is that time here.
It's the best time of the. I think we say that every week though, but every single week we get closer, and it really is the best time of the week, the best time
Yeah,
of the
it's
year.
just yeah, you just really have to get everything together. I started sending messages out about
Oh,
league
I saw your
dues.
message
Yeah.
to us. If anyone knows Adam as a league commissioner, he is no BS. He's telling you when the money's due. But that we talk about this a lot. But that's what you have to do. You say, "Hey, I'm not setting the draft order until I get all the money in." You give us a date that's well ahead of when we're supposed to draft for GST, just in case, and things happen.
Yeah,
Sometimes,
someone bails.
sometimes some people just, it's not the year to do it. They just have too much going on. They've got too many leagues. But
Money
yeah, this is the time.
situations.
Yeah,
So
this
there's
is the
always
time to be
something
doing
that
it.
can come up. So I kind of do it like a week and a half to 2 weeks before the draft. This way, if I run into any issue, you can replace that person. So yeah, it's important. And that's always the biggest hurdle as a commissioner. It's two things: setting the draft date and collecting the money. Once those
Yep.
two things are over and all the money's in, it's smooth sailing and you don't have to worry. And everyone will get paid very quickly once they win.
Yes. Can I will get paid very quickly.
Oh,
Once
look at you.
once.
Oh,
That's what we're doing this
I
year.
see.
That's
See, you're very smart and savvy because basically you just said, I had someone holding me
no,
back last
no.
year, and that person is gone from my team, and I
Don't
am
do
going to win
this.
this year. I
Don't do
love
this.
it. I love it.
You're,
I love the
you're only saying this
confidence.
because Ani's on the show today. That's all
Oh,
you're
he's
doing?
here. Oh, how you doing, Ani? That's okay. Yeah, Kendall's on her own this year. Ani was holding her back last year, and you could
Oh
see
my
Kendall is so
gosh.
confident now that she's going to take this down. So,
You are so funny. We're also in. I do want to let people know too, and I'll retweet this because you and I both tweeted this last night. But we're raising money for St. Jude with fantasy football today. So if you want to join a league with Adam and I and play against us, we would love to have you. I will say there's a few spots left now that I'm looking $250 to enter, and we know that all goes to charity going to St. Jude. So we are super excited to be doing that with fantasy football today. That should be fun. Speaking of co-managing a team together, no
yeah,
pressure.
which is what we have never done before. So
No,
that will be interesting, but it's all for a good cause. All the money goes to charity. So,
yeah, it's gonna be great.
yeah, someone was messaging me last night on X, and they said any other spots still open. I'm like, yeah, he signed up. He's like, hey, what's another
Nice.
league for charity? So love to have people with that outlook and perspective. So we do something fun. A lot of people want to draft against us. Here's your opportunity, and all the money goes to charity in St. Jude. So it's a great cause. So yeah,
It
both
is.
of us posted on X. So if you want to go see and get the link, I'll post it again later today as well.
I just retweeted it, so that's at K Valenzuela 17 at Adam Ronis over there on X, and I'm looking. There's 7 spots left, so if you can join us, we would love to have you. And again, it's all for a great cause, going to St. Jude, so that's going to be a super fun thing to do going into this season. And now, like I said, Adam, we've got most of all the training camps starting. At least not if they're not now, it's in the next couple of days, and so we've got a little bit of news that we can talk about here before getting into. I want to talk a little bit about the older tight ends, what we're planning on doing with them if we're drafting them this season. But let's start with Stefon Diggs. We can start with good news. We never start with good news with the news segments here. So let's start with good news. Stefon Diggs has been cleared for training camp. That's been one where we were kind of watching. We were wondering if he was going to start on pup or if he was just more going to be off to the side. But this is under 9 months since he tore his ACL. The Patriots have cleared him for training camp, and their camp opens tomorrow. So he is 31 years old. Again, he suffered that injury week 8 when he was playing for the Houston Texans. He was on a good pace, I will say. The connection with him and CJ Stroud, I think, was surprising. Maybe not surprising to a lot of people, but or like a good surprise. Like, okay, he was on pace to have a pretty good season. 47 catches, 496 yards, 3 touchdowns going into that week 8 game. So he signed the 3-year, $63.5 million contract over in March. And I think it's really good news. If we expect Drake May to take a step forward, Adam, what's stopping us from, well, I know what you're going to say. There's a lot stopping us from drafting Stephon Diggs, but really for his price, I'm not hating where he's going in drafts right now.
Yeah, he is very cheap in drafts right now. And last year, when he did play in PPR formats, he was 19th in points per game at the position. So, yeah, he was racking up the catches. So, it is another new team, new system, new quarterback that he has to develop a rapport with. But, yeah, we both like Drake May. And I do think Diggs will help him. Just that veteran receiver, good route runner. The touchdowns might be low, and we saw it last year. He had 3 touchdowns anytime he played. He's not gonna, have big plays, so he needs the volume. But it certainly can be there. When you look at this receiver room, they were trying to get receivers. That was one of their big needs to help
Yeah.
Drake May. So they finally got one in Diggs, and at least it's a good sign that he's out there and good to go because last year it was pretty bad. That they had one wide receiver get 500 yards, and
Yeah.
Hunter Henry led the team in receiving yards with only 674.
I just think when I look at Stephon Diggs, and again, I try to correlate a little bit. I didn't do as well. I didn't have as much when I'm looking at last season, and I thought, okay, we thought, Jaden Daniels was going to take a step forward. Didn't really correlate that with much Terry McLaurin. I just didn't have Terry McLaurin on a ton of my teams. So I'm looking at this situation. I'm not going overboard, but I mean, Drake May, we've talked about a lot, is one of our favorite later round quarterback targets. And we know that a lot of that has to do with the potential rushing yards, the potential threat he brings with his legs. But on the other side of it, I mean, Stephon Diggs, we know with the money they paid him, with him being, like you said, a veteran presence, he's going to step in and be the wide receiver one for this team. So I just look at his price at wide receiver 43 right now on Underdog. And again, he's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. They're going to say that he's older. They're going to say that he's coming off injury. And I understand that. But I think the risk is already baked into the price a little bit. So not going out of my way every single time where Stephon Diggs pops up onto my screen and I say, oh, this is perfect. I'm just going to take him every single time. But he is going around Khalil Shakir, Josh Downs, Darnell Mooney, where again, I just think some of the risk is baked in. So I'm okay with taking him a couple times.
Yeah, there are two of those receivers I would definitely take over him. I
Well,
think
yeah.
Mooney is the one that maybe you could debate. We only saw 3 games with Penix last year, full games, and it was a lot of Drake London. We know Mooney's a good receiver, so I think that would depend on the offense. And Diggs, the volume should be there as long as he's healthy. But for May, I think it does go back to why you like him so much. A lot of it has to do with his rushing ability. And
Yeah.
he doesn't need Diggs to have a massive season for him to hit in fantasy. I mean, we saw it last year. He was close with no weapon. So I think Diggs helps May from a real life perspective and fantasy too, just to have that reliable target. So it doesn't mean that Diggs is going to have huge fantasy numbers. But yeah, I think people see the age coming off the injury and they're like, yeah, what's the ceiling on Diggs? It's not very high. People don't want a high floor in that area where he's being drafted. They're because that's usually a bench spot. So
Yeah.
they're looking for that rookie that can explode, surpass expectations, go off. So and that does happen where sometimes that boring veteran does get pushed down a little bit too far.
Yeah, and I mean, Emeka Egbuka's right there at wide receiver 48. I bet he gets pushed up. If you had Emeka Egbuka in front of you, Stephon Diggs, are you taking Egbuka
I
almost every time
am.
now?
I am.
Yeah, that's what I'm
I
thinking
prefer
too.
youth.
Whatever. You give me crap about the boring picks, and I'm like, I don't know. It's still stuffy. Who was the other? Oh, Najee Harris. But that obviously I've stopped drafting him this offseason since the 4th of
Well,
July eye injury.
well,
Yikes.
even before that though, like before they, made the draft pick of Hampton in the, if you were drafting
Mhm.
early, Harris was set up. I mean, we kind of knew they might bring in a running back, but it was high draft capital there for
Yeah, spending
Hampton.
that on, yeah, you kind of had to pump the brakes there. But again, Stephon Diggs. So he is cleared for training camp, which is great news, not only for him, but like you said, for Drake May as well. No receiver caught more than 3 touchdowns last year.
Like,
There are just so many, there are so many stats that we can. One wide receiver, and it was Demario Douglas, had more than 50 receptions or 500 yards. We can
yeah,
keep going. Like you,
we're
Hunter Henry led the team with 97 targets, 674 yards. It was, we can just keep going. It was so bad last year.
yeah. Combine the stats of Jalen Polk and Javon Baker. Those were
What's that,
guys.
5 yards?
Yeah, probably
Five.
something like that.
It was so bad.
Unbelievable.
Oh, it was so bad. Just yeah, but that's good news. Good news for not only Drake May but for the team overall. So continue to watch that. Dare we talk about the Dallas Cow? What is Jerry Jones doing? What do we
So yeah, I didn't.
fill everyone in?
I know I
It's
didn't
just
get to hear the entire press
what?
conference.
Oh,
I
it
saw
was.
clips
I'll
of
send
it.
it to you.
Yeah, I don't understand why they let him speak. Because
Throwing, you're not only throwing Micah Parsons. So if anyone didn't hear, he kind of took a shot at Micah Parsons and Dak Prescott, saying, let me get the full quote up. But it was, yeah, it's a good question of why he's still maybe, talking. But it didn't seem like you're trying to get a deal done with Micah Parsons. You just have Dak Prescott coming off his injury and he's taking shots. It was weird.
yeah, so he said just because we sign Parsons doesn't mean we're going to have him. He was hurt 6 games last year. Seriously. So, and Parsons missed 4 games last year, not 6. So he's like, I remember
Uh,
signing a player for the highest paid at the position in the league, and he got knocked out 2/3 of the year, Dak Prescott. So there's a lot of things you could think about just as the player does when you're thinking about committing and guaranteeing money. And we all know you're going to pay the money. You do this every time. You
yep.
wait, you wait, you wait, and you pay these guys. So you just wind up paying more.
I don't know what's going on. There was a reason I brought this up, I promise. Just because I wanted to update the Dak Prescott workload. They did say that, of course, you're gonna read a lot of things, and it's important at this time of year too, not to just continue giving, just pieces of advice at him, but always read the full article. Just if you see the headline,
Yeah.
sometimes it's a little bit misleading. Always try if you can to click in because you'll see, Dak Prescott limited, Dak Prescott working off to the side. And it's not, to me, I'm looking at this and they know that Dak Prescott is going into his 10th season. He's coming off a year where his season, as Jerry Jones so eloquently put it, was cut short with the hamstring injury for what he only had 8 games right last season. So the plan is to limit the workload when possible, which means, a few more opportunities for Joe Milton. When you see that, do not freak out, do not overreact. But it's looking like, Dak Prescott going into the season, just like a lot of these other quarterbacks, receivers, whoever it is, a lot of these guys are going to be limited to start. And then we will progressively see their workload get bigger and bigger.
Yeah, I don't think there's any concern here
No,
at all. And they do
I
want
just
to
wanted to
see.
talk about Jerry. I just wanted
Yeah, a
to get
lot
you
of
stirred
people
up.
do. A lot of people do. And he always
Uh,
says something crazy. And the thing is, they're probably going to sign Parsons and just pay him a ton of money.
well, yeah, they waited this long.
Yeah,
You're
they
obviously going to
always
have to
do
pay
it.
him a ton of money. The players can't be happy about that, though.
I
I
mean,
mean,
yeah,
like if you're Micah Parsons and you're sitting there, he's still showing up to training camp too. That's the other thing. He's not a holdout. He's here in California, the last reports that I read. So that also has to just be frustrating as a player.
yeah,
I
I'm
don't know.
sure it does.
Well, but
And
then he'll get paid.
they'll
So
get paid and be like, ah, okay, cool. And then
be
it'll
like,
just be
whatever.
the same. They're so top heavy. That's their
Uh,
problem. They really don't have a lot of depth, and
no,
they need Dak to stay healthy. He goes down, and they're in trouble unless Joe
don't.
Milton shows something.
Could be fun. Joe Milton season. We don't want that at
I don't
all.
know. I don't think it's going to be a fun season for the Cowboys.
But you're more optimistic about them this year
Yeah,
than you
more
were
than
last
last year.
year.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, last
Last
year
year I
you were
knew
pretty
it was
spot on.
coming. I knew it was
Uh,
going to be bad. I still don't
yeah.
think it's going to be good, but they're one of those teams where they need everything to break right in order for success to happen. And the NFC is very difficult too, and the division is not easy. So they're not in a great spot.
7 wins, 8 wins.
Yeah, they're probably in the 7 to 9 win area.
Did we make a coffee bet on this?
No, why would
More
we?
wins? No, no,
We
no, no, no.
did?
With no, I'm asking with the
Oh,
Cowboys and the Seahawks.
no,
No,
that's
but I
actually
wouldn't have
probably.
done that. No, because I wouldn't do it because I'd agree with you. I'd be like, yeah, the Cowboys are going to win Plenty of
I
more
don't
games
know.
than
I
this.
think it's going to be close.
Really?
They could.
Maybe I'm just being a hater. Maybe I need to like reevaluate Sam Darnold. It's really only Sam Darnold for me.
Well, the division for you guys could be open a little bit. Like the 49ers,
Well,
everyone's
not as much
saying,
as it was last year, though. Last year was
I
kind
mean,
of,
the Rams
I
are
mean, with the
solid.
49ers
Yeah. Well, the
going down.
49ers, they still have a lot of things not going their way early. Like everyone's pointing to the easy schedule and they're automatically going to bounce back. They still have some issues. It's not automatic.
You mean all the receivers hurt or on pup
Yeah.
or wanting a new contract? That's a little scary. They've got George Kittle. Everything's fine.
Yeah.
CMC. Everything's fine.
Yeah.
Nothing
CMC.
could go wrong.
Yeah. He'll be fine. He'll definitely make it through camp.
Have you decided on that yet? If you're, I've still done drafts and I'm right in the middle of undecided on CMC. I don't know in redraft though if I'm gonna be able to pull the trigger and draft him. On
So
underdog, it's a little bit less, it's set it and forget it or draft it and forget it because they take the most points every week. But where are you at right now?
I'm generally out. Like
Okay.
he's either going to finish as like the top one or top two running back scorer or way below that. But I will say this, like if I was doing 10 leagues, I would want to have him in one just in case. But I did that last year with Anthony Richardson. It did not work out well.
I remember that.
I'm like, man, I don't
not
have this
good.
guy anywhere. You know what? And it was one draft where he fell to like QB9, QB10. I'm like, all right, why not? Yeah, it didn't go well. So sometimes you're just better off
It happens
sticking
to
with
the
your inclination. But right,
happens to the best of
I
us.
have not been able to pull the trigger on McCaffrey. And
Yeah.
I completely understand that he could easily be the number one scorer at running back because when he is healthy and on the field, they just feed him the ball. They give him a ton of targets. But I just have concerns of him staying healthy.
Yeah, I'm okay with being wrong if I'm wrong, but we'll have to wait. We'll have to wait and see with Christian McCaffrey going into the 2025 season. All right, we're going to continue on though. Those were the kind of bigger pieces of news going into the day to day. We'll continue to monitor all the training camp updates that we get. I want to talk about some of the older tight ends and what our expectations are for them going into the season. And we've got the training camp watch list. We've got position battles. We've got players we're keeping an eye on. We're going to go through all of those names here coming up next. Appreciate everyone hanging out with us here today. Kendall, Valenzuela, Adam, Ronis with you right here, Fantasy Life on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. We're getting into training camp news and notes here, Adam, and we have to make sure that we're going through, all the camp battles. Besides, we could talk about Daniel Jones, Anthony Richardson all day long if you want. Little quarterback battle. The Cleveland Browns quarterbacks.
Yeah,
We've got a lot to go off of here.
that's the fun stuff that everyone is waiting on.
I want to talk to you first. I've mentioned, talking about the older tight ends because I've seen a few questions. And again, at Valenzuela 17, at Adam Ronis over there on X, if you want to send us any questions that you want answered on the air, or you can call in 888-963-2682, the phone number to call in, or you can press that new call in button on the SXM app. But questions about the older tight ends, older, some of them older, some of them not, and what our expectations are for them. And so I feel like a good place to start is Mark Andrews, right? I believe still the tight end 6, but let me make sure. And Isaiah Likely, I feel like Isaiah Likely, especially after what we saw when Mark Andrews, especially that first week, just wasn't good to go. Isaiah Likely kind of stepped up. I'm just not under the expectation though, Adam, that if you're drafting Isaiah Likely, it's as your tight end 2, tight end 3, backup tight end that you can expect to go in if Mark Andrews goes down. I just don't. We know a lot about this team, and they're coming in pretty much with what we saw last season. I don't expect them to look at Isaiah Likely this season and say, we're going to pass the torch and it's not going to be Mark Andrews anymore. Likely's going to get that bigger role. I just can't see that right now.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. It's going to be an injury situation or a game where the offense is putting up 35 to 40 points, where Likely scores a touchdown, and good luck predicting that every single week. So, yeah, Andrews last year got off to the slow start. He was dealing with injuries and also coming off that car accident. And I think that was a big reason why he had such a slow start, because there were people who dropped him because he had back-to-back weeks of 0. And then right after that, he burned the people that scorned him and said, "Oh yeah, you're gonna drop me in fantasy? Watch this." And then he started to put up good numbers. So yeah, he was 8th in points per game in PPR formats. It was a down season for him, but he is a guy that consistently gets the red zone looks from Lamar Jackson. They just don't have that big receiver. I mean, we did see Bateman score more last year, more on deep passes. But yeah, Andrews had 11 touchdowns last year,
Yeah,
career
he
high.
ran hot.
Yeah, so you are relying on him for touchdowns. You hate doing that with any player, but at tight end and with the role that Andrews has on Baltimore, uh, he can do it. Now, I wouldn't expect a repeat of last year. He had one touchdown every 5 receptions.
Jeez.
But 2 years ago, he had one touchdown every 7, 8 receptions. So he tends to find the end zone in this offense. So, yeah, tight end, it's pretty ugly out there. So the way
It
I look
is.
at Andrews, so I just recently took him into best ball, and it was a situation where, okay, I really don't love anyone on the board here. Let me see what's available at tight end. Andrews is the best guy. All right, I'll take him. That's kind of how it is at that point, where he's not a target. You're not saying, oh, I want to get him, but it was just a spot of the draft where nothing was appealing at the other positions. So I took Andrews.
It's understandable. I mean, the tight end 7 price tag again, we talk so often about we know the top 3 and those guys aren't changing with Kittle and Brock Bowers and Trey McBride, but the teardrops from the tier breaks, I should say, from, Mark Andrews, this range of Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce, TJ Hawkinson, then you get into the other range of David Njoku, Tyler Warren, Tucker Kraft, Colston Loveland. It drops significantly, and the tight end landscape is just not as pretty as when we're talking about some of the wide receivers that you want to go and get. But, tight end 7, again, that's going in the 9th round. Again, it's going to be different for your Yahoo drafts, your ESPN drafts. But, in the names in that range, I agree with you there because it's around, it's Tyrone Tracy, it's Keon Coleman, it's any of the quarterbacks that we kind of like later in that 9th round. Bo Nix, or not Bo Nix, Justin Fields is right there. Brock Purdy's another quarterback. Bo Nix, like I said, Travis Kelce. So it's understandable. I haven't taken as much of him, but I'm not entirely off. I just know that if you're taking Isaiah Likely at tight end 20, it's more, you sit him on your bench and you wait. We don't want an injury, but that's how you see Isaiah Likely get on the field and pay off that ADP.
Yeah, it was fun last year when you had him early in the
Week
year,
one,
actually. But I don't think a lot of people
they
started him
did
week one
not.
because I did draft him. I didn't start him in any of my leagues, and that's the worst part because you're like, oh, I missed out on 26.1. So what do? You start him the next week and it gives you 4.6 because
Yep.
that was a guy that when he was on the waiver wire, people spent a lot of money, a lot, and you got like one good game from him over the next 5 weeks, and that's even if you started him at that point. So yeah, we know he's really talented. If he was the starting tight end on an offense, he would go higher, but he does need an injury from Andrews to really be that every week starter because it's just going to be inconsistent. You're not going to know when to start him.
Another one that I want to talk about for training camp, and we're just going through training camp battles, maybe guys that we're going to keep an eye on here in the next couple of weeks. But I want to know what your take is on the Jacksonville Jaguars running backs and the situation that maybe we can expect from them. Because you've got Travis Etienne, who I know I can confidently say I've got 0% exposure to him so far this season. I think out of the 3, I've got the most from Bayshal Tootin. I've drafted him the most. Then you have Tank Bigsby. Etienne's going in round 9, round 12 for both Tootin and Bigsby. But, when we talk so much about the Jaguars and what we should expect from Trevor Lawrence, what we should expect from Travis Hunter, and while those are all things we're obviously going to keep an eye on, the running backs I want to make sure we talk about as well, because you do have Liam Cohen coming over from Tampa Bay. He obviously isn't able to bring the offensive line from Tampa Bay, so that's going to make it a little bit different. But, when we look at the Jaguars, are you drafting Travis Etienne? Do you think that we're going to get the Travis Etienne from a couple years ago, or do you think that this is going to be a full-on committee and we don't necessarily? Well, the prices are a little bit different when we say, hey, we don't want to touch a committee because, like I said, Bayshal Tootin I've got the most of out of the 3, but that's a round 12 price tag, which I'm okay with paying.
Yeah, I'm actually drafting ETN of this group. I
Okay.
think the prices become extremely cheap, and if it does not work out, it's not going to crush you at all based on that ADP. And it feels no one wants him because he's coming off such a miserable season last year. But it was just 2 years ago that he had 11 rushing touchdowns
Yeah.
and caught 58 passes. And what is the valuable piece of the Cohen backfield, the pass catcher, and that's probably going to be ETN. Of course, everyone loves Bashal Tutin. He's the new player that they drafted, and we haven't seen him, so people love that guy, right? And last year was Tank Bixby. We have seen Tutin with the fumble issues, but I think ETN is the guy that I'm going to draft because he's cheap, doesn't cost you much, and we've seen him do it before. We saw how he
Yeah.
turned around that Tampa Bay backfield specifically. Rashad White's always caught passes, but Bucky Irving came in and was really good. So there's value if he is able to turn this offense around. There's going to be value in that backfield. So I'm drafting ETN right now.
I think I'm going to find myself, turning a little bit because of the camp reports that I've read over just the last couple of days. ETN is one where, a lot of people are just saying, "Hey, we're going to see the guy from 2 years ago, not from last season." And I'm someone, like I said, in round 12 where I have been drafting hand up way more Bashal Tutin, just because of, when we go zero RB, I want to make sure that I'm taking some swings on some rookies in these later rounds, not like Cam Scadaboo. We've talked about him. He's pretty expensive right now. So a Bashal Tutin is someone in the 12th that I've said, okay, I definitely want, I want you just in case. It's the Jaden Blues going in the 13th round and all the guys that going afterwards. But it's taking a swing, but I can see myself, Adam, looking at ETN and saying, I'm a little bit nervous that I don't have enough, that this coaching staff comes in, they realize what his potential is, and then you're getting someone with insane value in round 9 if he really is able to even show a slight edge from what we saw 2 years ago. You're going to be really happy with where you got him.
Yeah, and that's my thinking there is that he can bounce back with Cohen in this offense and catch 50-plus passes, and we're not paying anything at all. I mean, a lot of times
he's cheap.
Yeah, a lot of times I'd have to go back and look, but I would think a lot of times your 9th-round pick doesn't contribute much for you, and you might even wind up cutting them.
Yeah, especially with names. Names here, it's going to be hit or miss, right? Because you've got Jalen Warren, you've got Keon Coleman, Travis Kelce, Tyrone Tracy, Trey Harris, Rashid Shaheed. So,
Yeah, and those
and that's
receivers.
underdog. That's underdog.
Yeah, I think in your redraft league you might get better receivers in that area, but what you just mentioned there, I'm going to take ETN, especially if I need a running back. And usually in that area, that's probably where I am looking for a running back. It might be my 2 or 3, depending on the build. But yeah, that's the area where I'm going to take my shot, swing for the fences, and hope that he does return or comes close to what we saw 2 years ago.
And the price matches. So it's not us paying up for someone and hoping and saying, all right, well, we hope that he goes back. You're not paying as expensive as a price as you are with some of these other backfields. Another training camp just group that I'm watching, and I'm curious for you as well, or just seeing maybe someone emerges. I don't know. We know Khalil Shakir is the Buffalo Bills. They paid him that 4-year, $56 million contract this offseason. But do you think a worthwhile receiving threat emerges for Buffalo in training camp going into the season? And I guess this is me more asking you a Keon Coleman question than anything else, but Shakir is going in round 8. Coleman is going in round 10. Dalton Kincaid, tight end 14, going in round 11. And then you have the Josh Palmer, Elijah Moores of the world going 15 and undrafted. So is Khalil Shakir still the guy that you're targeting? And I don't want to use the word targeting, but last season I know that you really liked Khalil Shakir in this offense. Can Keon Coleman, catch your eye in training camp, or is this one where it's still just going to be they're going to spread the ball around? It's not going to be the best, wide receiver group to target in fantasy this year.
Yeah, more that.
Okay.
Why would they change from what worked last year? I just don't see them going in a different direction. I think they're just going to spread the ball out. They also had mentioned that Dalton Kincaid was never healthy, so maybe he gets a little bit better. They want to run the football a lot. You have Josh Allen who's going to run. So, yeah, that's the crazy part, right? We have Josh Allen who is going as the number 1, number 2 quarterback off the board. You would think, oh, yeah, we want pieces tied to this offense, right? He's one of the top quarterbacks. And what? Their number 1 target is drafted 35 to 40th receiver off the board. It's
Yes, they
just,
have one receiver going in. You have Josh Allen on your team, but you have one receiver going inside the top 100 fantasy picks right now. And
yeah.
I think I don't, it's maybe to me, it's more like disappointing, because I want to believe that Keon Coleman could be like on paper, right? You would expect, okay, you've got Josh Allen as your quarterback. There is room for one more person besides Khalil Shakir to step up for this passing attack and give you really solid fantasy numbers and production. But it is one of those things where, to me, I do look at Keon Coleman, but again, I'm not betting anything on it and saying, well, yes, I have to take him every single time, because he has to emerge in this offense. Because you're right, why would they change what's been working? We've talked a lot about James Cook, and even if we expect a little bit of regression there, like we know that he's going to get his. Josh Allen is going to be that dual threat cheat code QB1 going into the season. Like, so I think it's more disappointing for me that I want to be able to talk about Keon Coleman and a year two leap, but it's probably going to be more difficult than what others expect.
Yeah, I just don't see the volume being there. They did attempt a lot of deep passes to him. He averaged 19.2 yards per catch, but also the catch rate was 50.9% because of that. I know he dealt with some injuries, but like what I just don't see how he can break out in this offense.
Yeah, I want to go to the projections and see what we have. But so Khalil Shakir though, still good. I've taken not a lot, but I've taken him.
Yeah, so last year he was more of a target for me. This year he's not, just
Okay.
because seeing how this offense operates. Actually, I don't even think I have any Shakir so
Oh,
far.
really?
Yeah, I damn, I might have like no Buffalo.
Zero, 0%.
Well, I do. I know I've been drafting Ray Davis. I
Yeah,
probably do have
he's a good
Kincaid as a
handcuff.
tight end too on a couple basketball teams. Like I'm open to Kincaid because you just look at the tight end landscape in that area and like there's nothing that stands out. Where we know Kincaid has the talent. He was dealing with some injuries last year. They were saying it was worse than what was said. So I'm open to doing that, especially if I in that tight end area where I miss out on the top
Yeah.
and I'm taking two. But yeah, for an offense that has the number one, number two quarterback in fantasy, it's insane how we can't even covet his pass targets.
Yeah, it's disappointing. Khalil Shakir, wide receiver 45, going off the board on underdog. So
Yeah,
I like the price. The price is
the
right.
price is good, but what's the ceiling is just
Yeah.
it's kind of low.
I'm surprised, honestly, that Keon Coleman's going as close as he is with him, but he's wide receiver 53. Again, cheaper option, but
A more big play threat too. I guess for best
yeah.
ball, you could get like a few. If Coleman gets you 4 for 112 and a touchdown, he has that range of outcomes in him on a
Yeah.
given week. Whereas Shakir, it's kind of more slow and steady. It'll be like 5 for 60. So
With
that's probably why the gap is not as wide as you would think.
fantasy managers just deserve more from this offense that we just all love. It's just like, all right, well, maybe we'll wait and see. Maybe there's something during training camp that
Maybe
a threat emerges, but
does Josh Allen pull a Lamar Jackson and just have 41 touchdowns like Lamar did last year?
could be fun.
It's just
I
a
mean, they
pat.
need to get over the playoff hump. I know that you say that why would they change what they're doing? But I know that
Well, it
that
mattered
team as a whole
in the
is
regular season. It works. They win a
yes,
lot of games
yes,
and they dominate. In the playoffs, it's been a problem. They need that go-to guy. I think they do.
for sure.
But look at his pass attempts with Josh Allen. He 483 last year.
I'm just
He had 646 in 2021. So yeah, the offense has definitely changed.
I don't know. I just like and with Shakir, when you look at some of the underlying numbers too, and you look at that, like if he earns more reps in those two wide receiver sets, then he's got the talent. We've talked about his talent and just the overall how talented he is. So he could unlock more, but it's just that we don't think that they'll give it to any of them.
Yeah, he had 100 targets in 15 games. He catches pretty much everything thrown his
Yeah.
way. 76% catch rate last year, 75.8% in his career. But it's a lot of short passes. So again, in PPR, the volume, high floor, but ceiling's not there. It's not like he's going to score a lot of touchdowns. Just 4 touchdowns last year.
Kincaid is kind of interesting, but he
Yeah,
needs he needs more playing time. But he
that
has
too. Yeah,
he has but like the playing time has to be the thing that is the most worrisome because then that could be a potential good, later round if you miss out on those top tight ends, the top 12 and you can wait a little bit, Kincaid's there, but it's the playing time that doesn't make you feel great about anything that Kincaid does, especially last season.
And look, they're saying that that knee was worse than what was let on, and he played through a lot of pain. If that's true, then maybe that changes things. But he went from, as a rookie, 80.2% catch rate. Last year was 58.7%. I mean, that's a big drop off for him.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm gonna monitor Kincaid too this preseason and training camp and see what he looks like with those starters, because that could be one that maybe he's the one that emerges, that we're not even, it's Khalil Shakir, it's Keon Coleman, but maybe the real answer here is looking at Dalton Kincaid going
Josh
into the year.
Palmer,
Stop.
Elijah
I can't
Moore.
get that. I can't get there yet. We're not that desperate. We're trying to get people excited for fantasy football. We can't talk about Josh Palmer yet, but we can continue talking about just a few more training camp names that I want to go through, because we've got good stuff here. The Denver Broncos and a receiver not named Cortland Sutton that maybe you should be looking out for. Same with another tight end and a rookie running back. We're going to go through those names coming up next. Let's be real. You're here to win a fantasy championship. And guess what? You already know you're not going to win playing it safe. You've got to go hard. And no one understands that better than Mike's Hard Lemonade. So, to succeed in fantasy, sometimes you have to take those bold risks. You got to reach for a rookie. You have to make those blockbuster trades. You got to blow all your fab on a breakout player. And yes, your league mates might roast you in the group chat, but you know, legends do not play scared. They go hard, just like Mike's Hard Lemonade. So, crack open a cold Mike's kickback for a second. And remember, nobody makes lemonade like Mike's. Find Mike's nearest you at www.mikeshard.com. Mike's is hard, so is prison. Don't drive drunk. Premium malt beverage with flavors, all registered trademarks, used under license by Mike's Hard Lemonade Co., Chicago, Illinois. It's incredible. Really. Mid-season form. That got you to laugh.
It did. It did.
He'll never admit that. Oh, I love it. Shakir is going in round, what did I say, round 8? Round
Yeah.
9? Whatever it is. You know who else we need to talk about, though, for training camp? There's actually a lot of guys that we need to talk about for training camp, and who we're watching for over these next couple weeks, who we just want to make sure to keep an eye on. Is it time that we look at let's look at some of these rookie running backs. That's where I wanted to go with this, because Caleb Johnson, Dylan Sampson. Caleb Johnson going for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Dylan Sampson going for the Cleveland Browns. We know, we actually don't know what's going on with Quinshon Judkins' arrest for domestic violence. I don't think has signed his rookie contract yet, something we obviously need to monitor. But in this situation, we do have to, point our attention to Jerome Ford, Dylan Sampson, and then Caleb Johnson with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I know these are two that we haven't necessarily dove in on a ton, but with Caleb Johnson in Pittsburgh, Adam, we kind of talk about, okay, well, what is this workload going to look like with Jaylen Warren there? I have taken more Jaylen Warren than I have Caleb Johnson, and I haven't taken Dylan Sampson as much yet, although he is rising up draft boards because of the Quinshon Judkins situation. So it's not because with Cleveland, I just don't want a piece of this backfield, to be totally honest with you. But we can start in Cleveland or we can start wherever you want. But for Cleveland and Dylan Sampson, is he now more on your radar? Or are you waiting to see what happens with Judkins in that situation? Or is it just no? Could be just no.
You can't afford to wait at this point. Not everyone is drafting now. We know that, right? But there's a lot of best ball drafts going on, and the redraft leagues are going to start to really ramp up over the next couple of weeks. So, yeah, I think Sampson is a guy that's rising up draft boards at this point. You got to take a shot on, because we don't know what's going on with Judkins. We don't know how long he's going to be out. So that just opens up an opportunity. Remember, they did draft Judkins earlier, but they still went out and drafted Sampson too. And he was pretty good at Tennessee. So, yeah, I think he's a guy that I want on my squad right now, especially since the price has gone up, but it's still affordable at this point.
Is the answer, though, are we just overlooking Jerome Ford? Because I know you said, like, hey, Jerome Ford, okay, maybe he can be a sleeper piece in this offense. But then, they went out and they went out and drafted 2 rookie running backs. And I think that does take a toll on Jerome Ford and his production. But I mean, if Quinshon Judkins does get suspended, I feel like maybe we do need to talk a little bit more about Jerome Ford. Because I don't look at Dylan Sampson and say he's going to take over this backfield 100%. I know he's a natural runner. He's got tremendous feel. He's got big play upside. But I just can't see him and say it's going to be his backfield and Jerome Ford is, the number 2. I don't know.
Yeah, look, Ford could still play a role, but he had his opportunity, and they did not love what they saw because they went out and drafted 2 running backs. So that's what makes it difficult for me I would definitely take Samson over him.
Caleb Johnson, Jalen Warren. Do you feel the same way? Is it going for the rookie running back here? Is it going for Jalen Warren, who for like a week we were super excited, until the NFL draft, we were super excited. I'm still excited, but or is it just no? Or is it just you don't want either of these guys? What are you thinking here?
No, both could actually have value, right? We know
Yeah.
that the Steelers want to run the football quite a bit. I know people have been waiting for Jalen Warren to get that opportunity. It just feels like it has never come with Pittsburgh, and then they go out and draft Caleb Johnson. So uh, I'd rather have Caleb Johnson, but we know Warren is going later, and he's probably going to have a similar role to what he has the last couple years with Caleb Johnson getting most of the carries.
Yeah, I think the explosive three down skill set that Jalen Warren brings, I've taken again a cheaper option. So I've looked at this backfield. I don't not like Caleb Johnson, but I've just said, okay, if I'm going to get one of these guys, and depending on my build, I will wait and just take Warren because I still just really like him in this offense. We're going to continue on though, continue looking at training camp news, notes, updates, everything that you need to know. But speaking of running backs, Adam, let's talk about a handcuff snake draft that Ian Hartitz did on his show for Fantasy Life. Want to talk through that with him and Matthew Friedman. We're going to go through that coming up next. This is Fantasy Life right here. Make sure you're calling in with any questions that you have. 888-963-2682 or press that new call-in button on the Sirius XM app. You can send us a message over there on X, on Twitter, at Valenzuela17, at Adam Ronis. Just wanted to go through this handcuff snake draft because we always talk about how important it is to load up with those later round running backs. We know that they do not have a path to fantasy goodness in the beginning of the season, but whether it be, ball security issues, whether it be injuries, sometimes these guys are able to step up in a bigger role. So Ian Hartitz, Matthew Friedman did this with Fantasy Life with Ian Hartitz, which you can find anywhere you get your podcasts from. So make sure to check that out. Let me go round one with you and who you would like here more. Jalen Warren, Tyler Algier. Who would you go with?
I think this is such a challenging exercise because doesn't it really depend on who you're drafting? Like, if you drafted Bijan
Yes.
Robinson, isn't it Algier? Easy. But I don't even think Algier would be near the top for me in terms
Oh,
of.
really?
Yeah.
So he's only got value for you if you draft Bijan Robinson.
Well, a lot more. Like, I find
Okay.
a lot of these other running backs more appealing because remember, some of them are not direct handcuffs. Some of these guys are going to have value. Like Jalen Warren here, right? He could
Yes.
have
He could have
standalone value.
Look at us.
And
Look
round
at
two,
us.
Jordan Mason. Like Jordan
Yeah.
Mason could play a bigger role than people think. I think the gap with him and Aaron Jones is way closer than people
I think
think.
the first three drafted by Friedman all potentially have standalone value because he took
Yeah.
Jalen Warren in round one, he took Jordan Mason in round two, he took J.K. Dobbins in round three. There's a for J.K. Dobbins, Jalen Warren especially, like there is standalone value there. Jordan Mason obviously is going to be one of the more expensive handcuffs just because of where I shouldn't even say handcuff. I actually do think that he goes out there and it's a 1A 1B situation, don't you?
With who?
With J.K. Dobbins. Or no, who
Uh
was I talking about? Jordan Mason.
yeah, I do think that Jones Mason is a lot closer.
I do too.
Aaron Jones really struggled near the goal line last year. I know Mason wasn't great either, but Jones also is coming off a massive workload, a career high workload, age 30. I think they saw and they said, yeah, we need to bring someone in to lighten the workload. So I do think that is going to be really close. And you could say the same with Dobbins too. I think we all love RJ Harvey, right? But
Yes.
Dobbins was pretty good last year, and I think they could ease him in. I still like Harvey, but I think Dobbins is probably going to play a bigger role than a lot of people think.
And I think with Jordan Mason, like again, 1A, 1B situation there, in my opinion, because like you said, Jones is another year older. And I just don't, I can see them looking at Jordan Mason and saying, now we don't have to give Jones the workload that he had last season. They can pull it back just a little bit because that was a hefty workload that he had. So that's what I think about him as well. So let me give you Ramondre Stevenson, Zach Charbonnet. Between the two, would you go Charbs there?
I would go Charbonnet. And again, but I think he doesn't have a big role unless Kenneth Walker goes down. And yes, I know Kenneth Walker goes down every year. So
He he's good for at least 2 games going
let's
down.
well, maybe this is the year he stays healthy the whole year.
Isaac Guerrero, here's CMC. Isaac Guerrero, Austin Eckler.
Oh, it's easily Garendo. I don't think it's
Yeah.
close.
Yeah. Cam Scattaboo, 1A, 1B. You're going
Yeah,
Cam
in
every
some
time.
drafts, Scatterbo goes before Tracy,
I
right?
know.
That's what I'm
I
saying. Like
haven't
this
done,
is,
I will say hand up. I love Cam Scattaboo, but I haven't done that yet. It's close though. Maybe I will, just for the
you
plot.
will eventually.
Just for the plot and just to say it. All right, we're going to continue on here. It's time for the Fantasy Life Water Cooler. Going through all the news and notes that you need to know. Make sure you call in. We're heading there next. It is time for that Fantasy Life Water Cooler right here. Kendall, Valenzuela, Adam Ronis with you. Fantasy Life 888-963-2682, the phone number to call in, or press that new call in button on the Sirius XM app, or you can send us a message on X and we can try and get to it there if you can't get through on the phone lines at Valenzuela17 at Adam Ronis. Talking trash about Ani, our poor producer.
Poor, what do you mean poor? He bailed on you. You should be upset.
He didn't bail. He said, just
I'm
like
in
we
too
said at the
many leagues,
beginning.
so I gotta cut out the ones that I have
Yes.
no chance of
Just
winning.
like we said at the beginning of the show, sometimes you have to look at your league. No, okay, no, I'm not agreeing with you on that. You have to look at your leagues and you have to say, okay, I need to scale back a little bit. That's okay.
Nah, it's really not. I mean, that league is local. It's near him, his where he lives. He showed up last year. It was a fun time. It's good food, great atmosphere, and that's the one he's gonna bail on to play in a 10-team league with 6-year-olds because he has a better chance to win money. Come on. That's I can't respect that.
I'm so jealous. I'm gonna have FOMO. I'm gonna maybe you have to FaceTime me during the draft so I can just see.
I'm focused during the draft. I ain't got no time for that.
Whatever. Come on, FaceTime me. Set me up on like a counter or something so I can just watch everyone. Oh, it's gonna be so fun.
I
So
think actually, Michael Florio,
yeah.
who works for the NFL Network. He's in it, and he FaceTimes, I believe, with his partners as well, Frank Stanfield and Greg Sussman. So,
Well, I have no partner.
yeah, it's unfortunate. Yeah, Ani bailed.
I can't FaceTime in anymore. My
I think
partner.
is he? I wonder why he bailed. Is he didn't like working with you?
No, we worked well together.
Yeah.
We really did. Yeah,
Okay.
except sometimes on the app that will not be named. We messed up a couple times, but that's not on
Wasn't the
us.
commissioner inputting picks though? Like
No,
I
no, no. I'm
input.
talking about setting lineups, on that
Oh,
on that you have to physically press that lineup.
oh, it's so
Sometimes that
difficult. I
messed it.
know.
Yeah,
I
it was
know.
difficult. No, it was tough. It was tough last year, but we'll get through it. I know Ani has some choice words on that one. The water cooler. Let's talk
That's
about some
people
news.
always. He's so everyone in leagues. You have that person, right, that makes excuses when things go wrong. They always make excuses. It's never them. It's always something. That is Ani Sridhar.
Stop.
It's
It is
true.
not. No, it
It
is
is.
not. Stop. Okay, we're getting through this. You guys
Take
can talk during the
accountability.
break. I wish people could hear you guys just bickering during the break. So I'm
It's
just
just
sitting
like your
here.
home leagues, right? When you have
Yeah,
people and rivalries and
it's
everything.
true. It's true. It's true. Water cooler news, notes that we need to talk about going into
Yeah, we
training
need some
camp.
water to calm down here.
Yeah, we do. We need something. Let me talk to you about this Rams offense. Puka Nacua, this is the time we get, the best quotes, best shape of their life. Everything's looking great. They're fully 100% healthy. But I will say this, Puka Nacua said he was excited about what the Rams offense can do with Matthew Stafford and Devontae Adams. So I know we've talked about teams that are a bit more expensive to draft where you're just going to have to pay up. We've mentioned it, for the Lions, of course, for the Philadelphia Eagles, but Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, Matthew Stafford. I've taken late Stafford, not a lot, but this is more when we're talking about underdog for those stacks. But between Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, this seems like it's been a wide receiver friendly offense, especially over the last few years when Sean McVay, Matthew Stafford got together. So when I'm looking at this, I know last season I said I'm not drafting Devontae Adams. I stuck to that. I took 0%. Once he was traded to the Jets, got a little bit nervous there, and he proved that he was anything but washed, at least, because he was peppered with targets from Aaron Rodgers, and he had a good finish to the season. So now you put him on this team with Matthew Stafford, and like Puka Nacua said, I'm also excited about this offense. I've taken both Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, but for Puka, you just have to be in the right spot in the first round, or else you're just not going to get him. So that's the only thing with him. Devontae Adams, you can be a little bit more flexible if you really like him, going up, grabbing him earlier than his ADP, or waiting and hoping he falls to you.
Yeah, I'm fine with both. Yet I have 0 so far. Like you said,
Why?
it just how
This
it's
hasn't
worked out.
happened. Yeah.
My biggest concern with Puka is the injuries, but we could say that about any player. But really, the lack of touchdowns. I don't know what's going on there. 9 touchdowns in 28 games. Only 3 last year. So that's really going to make or break him. Like, he could really put himself in the upper echelon of wide receivers if he can get those touchdowns, because his rookie year, he averaged 87.4 yards receiving yards per game, 90 last year. We saw the catch rate go up. So it really comes down to the touchdowns. If he can get them, that will definitely, put him in the top 5. It's a tight battle up there. There's a lot of good receivers. But even with those lack of touchdowns, last year Puka was 6th in PPR formats of points per game. And when you put him in your lineup, you just feel real confident. Like, you're getting 15 to 20 points pretty much every single game. And it's just a comfort level. And Davante Adams, I was with you. I was completely out on him last year going into this season. Didn't want any part of him. And it looked good early on. And then for those that were able to weather the storm, get by the injury, well, if he was even hurt with Vegas when he sat out those 3 games.
Yeah.
And then even the trade, like the first 2 weeks weren't great. Then he had a good game. But yeah, that finish to the season, like weeks 13 to 17, really helped people win some championships, because I'm sure they had other alternatives while Adams was sitting out, where maybe they got someone off the waiver wire and they weren't counting on Adams, and then he really came through. But yeah, the Rams offense, we see it. They get the ball to the players we want in fantasy. Sean McVay respects fantasy.
Sean McVay loves our fantasy teams. He really does, though.
Very condensed offense. We know where the ball's going. You could start Kyron Williams, Puka Nacua, Davante Adams every week. You never have to worry.
Rams wide receivers as a whole ranks 2nd in both receptions and receiving yards since, like I said, since McVay and Stafford came together in 2021. Sean McVay loves our fantasy teams. And it's just true. So Puka, like you said, you need to be in the right spot, because Puka Nacua right now is going off the board at pick 8, I believe. So again, if you're earlier, if you
Oh wait, I do remember. I did take Puka in one of my first best balls. So
yeah, that's good. So it's Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Bijan, Saquon, CeeDee Lamb for the first 5. And then, it's interchangeable. I think that you can take Puka Nacua after CeeDee Lamb and not want Jahmyr Gibbs, Christian McCaffrey, or like I said, you get him with that 8th pick. And then Davante Adams is going 3rd round. So he is going around Marvin Harrison Jr., Garrett Wilson, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. We've talked about this spot a lot for the wide receivers. Interchangeable when we get to this group, especially with Tyreek Hill, T. Higgins at the top, right at the 2-3 turn.
Yeah, I think even at the top, people have, you see, if you take 5 draft boards, you're going to see a different order for like that tier of Neighbors, Nacua, Thomas, St. Brown, London, Nico Collins. Like, you'll see different order. So it comes down to personal preference. And then if there are people that play in 10, 12 leagues, they might want to switch it up. Like, well, I've taken Puka in the last 2, so now I'm going to go St. Brown or Nico or Neighbor. You know what I mean? So it kind of feels that's the way it is this year.
Going to the next part of the water cooler here. Again, 888-963-2682, the phone number to call in, or press that new call-in button on the Sirius XM app. I referenced it yesterday or / made a joke about Jaden Blue, but I do want to talk about this Cowboys just backfield in general, because we've been talking through, some training camp I don't even know if battle is the right word for this, but just deciphering these backfields going into training camp. And so if you didn't hear, there was do I call it a report, Adam? There's like a former Cowboys coach said that Jaden Blue has been borderline lazy and the team was not thrilled with his work habits. Again, you said this yesterday. How much do we believe this? This is a former coach, but I think it does give us a good transition into talking about the Cowboys, because you've got Javonte Williams round 10, Jaden Blue's going in round 12, and then Miles Sanders is going in round 18. What are your expectations for this backfield? Is it something where we actually shouldn't just be totally bypassing this team and saying, it's a Cowboys running back, they didn't spend as much as we thought during the NFL draft? Should we be focusing on either of these 3 guys in our drafts?
I don't think most people are. With Javonte Williams, people are hoping that he can go back to the pre-injury form. It didn't look good last year. This offensive line isn't as good as it was either. I thought Blue had an opportunity to be that explosive pass-catching back out of the backfield. So I still think it's possible. This report, whether it's true or not, will probably depress his price. But I think this is, you want to watch his training camp specifically because, again, he is explosive out of the backfield. We know that they're going to pass. So I thought there was a chance that he could catch, 50, 55 passes out of his backfield if he got the opportunity. So this might be a good thing because it's going to depress the price. But everyone has seen this headline. That's all this headline has been going out for the last day or two. So people see it and like, oh, yeah, forget it. I'm not going to draft him. But I kind of want to hold off on being that reactionary to this.
But you're open to drafting. If you're open to drafting any of them, it sounds like it's more Jaden Blue than Javonte Williams.
Yeah.
I'm in the same.
You might not get much out of this running game. They'll probably try to run it, but it seems like there's going to be a team that's going to pass a lot.
I think it's going to be interesting if Blue does get some of that early down or the passing down work that we see with the starters. That's going to be over the next couple of weeks. Then if he does do that, then maybe we see his price go up a little bit. But it is one that you can see with the prices that I gave, round 10, 12, 18, that no one's really going after these guys, which could mean that, by the end of it, there is some value there with Jaden Blue. If you like Javonte Williams, I'm just with you. We can't wait. I'm not waiting anymore for a Javonte Williams breakout. And I really do hope that we see the Javonte Williams of old, but I'm just not necessarily, I'm not going after him just because I think there are better guys that you can go after, especially in that range, that I'm just not comfortable with him right now, unless we see something different.
Yeah. I mean, he did catch the ball well last year out of the backfield, but couldn't do anything after the catch.
But I was going to say he had the opportunity last year.
Yeah,
it was Jaleel McLaughlin, Andre Guestimate. Yes, I don't know why, if it wasn't going to happen last season or the seasons with Denver, like why it would happen now. But that just, again, it's you've got Najee Harris, Ramondre Stevenson, Tajay Spears, Javonte Williams. I've taken the most Tajay Spears out of this running back group in the 11th round. And then Christian Kirk, Marvin Mims, Hollywood Brown, Colston Loveland, Tucker Kraft in there. So Tucker Kraft, Tajay Spears have been the two in that 11th round that I've taken more of than any of them.
Yeah, Spears in a good spot. They had talked about going into last year how they wanted it to be a split, and then it wound up being a lot of Pollard. They're talking up Spears again. I still think Pollard probably the main back, but Spears is going to play a role. So in that round, at that price, I definitely like Spears there better.
Have you taken Pollard? I know we haven't talked about him much. Another running back getting a little bit older, but was pretty solid for you last season.
Yeah, I have. I'm open to taking him. He had a really good season considering the state of the offense, and he battled through injuries too. There were many weeks where I thought he wouldn't go. He was always on the injury report. He didn't practice for a long stretch, so he kind of battled through it. That's why if you go look, you're going to see, oh, this was an ugly game. I think he was playing through injuries, and the offense obviously limited him as well because he only had 5 total touchdowns. So, yeah, I do think Pollard will probably get the majority of the touches, but they will want to mix in Spears a little bit more than they did last year.
Yeah, I look at Pollard yards after contact per carry has been impressive, like almost always since 2019, except for 2023. But even last year, it was 3.4 yards after contact per carry, which was 6th among the qualified running backs, and it was the 3rd season with 1,000+ rushing yards, and it was an impressive season for him last year. So I'm definitely one that going back to Pollard. But again, we talk about the handcuffs and guys that we said this in the handcuff draft that we reviewed from Ian and Friedman, but just how important it is for handcuffs. If you're looking at a Tyler Algier, that's important. If you've got the Bijans, the Garendos, if you're looking at Christian McCaffrey, there's just always these guys that you want to make sure. We never want injuries, but if they were to go down, you get your guys. But there are some in these later rounds that do, like Tajay Spears, in our opinion, have standalone value that you don't necessarily have to wait for an injury. There are some that you can just go and get now, and look at them and say, okay, it won't take an injury, I guess is what I'm trying to say. They could have that value.
Possibly with Spears. Again, they were talking it up last year. It didn't pan out. Maybe more this year. So you would draft him and he would be on your bench, and you see how it plays out early in the season. But we've seen stretches where he's had the opportunity by himself in the backfield, and it's looked pretty good. Like he had that game against Jacksonville last year. I think Pollard sat out. He had Spears at 20 carries, 95 yards, 3 catches for 8 yards. Then I think that was the game he left with a concussion, and he missed week 18.
Yeah, and other guys too though, like Dobbins, we talked about has some standalone value where you're not some people might not look at him and be like that's a handcuff. Jordan Mason, Jalen Warren, Ray Davis. I mean, you said Ray Davis too. If we're expecting the James Cook regression a little bit, Ray Davis could be another guy that you go and get in these later rounds.
Yeah,
Can
and I
have some
think
value.
didn't we see, and we saw a game with him last year
We
when
did a really
Cook
good
was out
game.
and he
Yeah.
went off. I mean, that we know that Bills run game how good it is, and Davis will have an opportunity if something happens to Cook, and that'll be a week where you're going to start him all the time.
Absolutely. So again, we're just going through training camp notes. We'll always keep an eye on anything and everything that happens during these next couple of weeks here at training camps. But if you want to stay in the know on all of that, make sure you go to fantasylife.com, sign up for that newsletter. It is 100% free, and check out everything that our upgraded website has to offer. I know we talk a lot about just the rankings HQ. We go through the projections. We've got Draft Champion live and available. So it's our mock draft simulator. If you want to get ready for those drafts, if you're unable, to just go into other drafts like Underdogs, some of the others that we talk about, go into Draft Champion and make sure you're going in there. You can sync your league, you can change your scoring settings, everything like that to get ready for your drafts to dominate. So head on over to fantasylife.com. Use that code SXM20. SXM20 gets you 20% off any Fantasy Life Plus subscription, tier 1 or tier 2, to just help you this season continue to win all of your leagues. We're going to continue on here, Adam. We've got the one and only Paul Charchian joining us. We're talking through running backs to target in guillotine leagues. We're going to do that coming up next. We are back. Kendall, Valenzuela, Adam Ronis, and Paul Charchian joining us right here on Fantasy Life, Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. Paul, welcome in. How you doing? How's your week going so far?
Well, it's going great because it's training camp time, right? We're on the verge of getting some like real data points.
Yeah.
Really, I think since the draft, it's just a lot of speculation. These players could emerge. We think this guy's got an opportunity. Now we're going to start getting like actual data points to work with. We'll see people trying to perform and look good, and we'll start adjusting rankings every day. And yeah, so to me, if you love fantasy football and you love this industry, it's game on as of this week.
Yep, it's we say it almost every day, I think, but it's the best time of the year. We're getting closer and closer to just regular NFL games, and we're getting closer and closer to all of your drafts. And we're excited to have you on here, Charge, today because we're still talking through guillotine leagues, and where you should all be going anyway. If you haven't tried out a guillotine league, now is the time to do so. This is the year. It is such a fun, different way to experience fantasy, and it's essentially, Paul, every time you come on here, I always remind people, it's you take regular fantasy football and everything, you throw it out the window when you're doing guillotine leagues. So today we're going through running backs that you are telling people to target going into the season.
And as a quick reminder how guillotine leagues work, and I know many of you already know this, but it's still new for some. You start the season with up to 18 teams because there's 18 weeks in the season. At the end of each week, the lowest scoring team is chopped from the league for good, and all their players go to the waiver wire, where the rest of us start building superstar rosters and competing against each other. And you hang out if you're alive for 6-7 weeks, all of a sudden your roster is like something you've never seen in fantasy football. It's so much fun bidding on great players. Tons of fun, but a very different strategy to not finish last every week as opposed to trying to be the best every week. And that brings us to the running back position. I've identified 5 runners that I'm taking well ahead of ADP for the guillotine format specifically. Let's start. We'll just kind of do it in ADP order. How's that sound?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Let's start with Chuba Hubbard. We love him. Against all odds last year, 4th year. Players almost never put it all together in year 4. Usually by then the die is cast. You're either, we know what you are. Hubbard, 4th season, 1,300 total yards, 11 touchdowns. Fat new contract, 4 years long. And, coaches lie all the time. You guys know that, right? Can't trust virtually anything. You're just talking about Jadon Blue and, what coaches are whispering, whatever. When they signed Chuba Hubbard, Dave Canales came out and said, I was looking for the style, the attitude, the toughness that fit the kind of football team we want to be. And as we went through those first games early on and just really, really consistently through, Chuba represented what I'm looking for from the run game and the mentality for the players that we're looking for. Those are pretty strong words from Dave Canales. I mean, I think they love this kid, and he was so good from week 3 forward. Remember those first couple of weeks were a total disaster for Carolina, and they benched Bryce Young and all that stuff. Week 3 forward, Hubbard averaged 18 PPR points per game, and he only fell below RB 15 4 times the rest of the year. I mean, that's the kind of safety you want in a guillotine league. You want alpha runners, and Chuba Hubbard is not going high enough. We've got him going a full round early in guillotine drafts compared to regular. What do you think?
I love this call out because again, last season too, it was a lot of people, Paul, maybe saying, "Hey, I want Jonathan Brooks because eventually he's going to come back," and you don't want to do that for guillotine leagues. You want someone that's going to give you fast, early production right away because, like you said, you don't look at week 15 through 17 for fantasy championships. You're looking at week 1, and you're just trying to survive that week. So you're not going for the potential Rico Dowdle show and saying, "Oh, eventually he's gonna maybe come up and overtake him." No, I really like this call out for Chuba. Again, not a sexy name either. People are going to look at the Panthers and say, I just don't want it. But I like this call out a lot.
Outstanding. Okay, next. And again, ADP order. And these are big leagues, 18-team leagues. So we're going to get pretty deep with some of these guys. And some of these players might only be flex starters in a regular league. They'd be running back starters for you in a guillotine league. Let's talk David Montgomery, who I've got him going 2 rounds earlier than his standard draft position if you're in guillotine, and generally I don't love having the number 2 running back on a team for guillotine use, because if that guy flops, you're dead. But David Montgomery is the exception to the rule because of the touchdowns. Over the past 2 years, the Lions rank number 1 in rushing attempts from inside the 5-yard line. That is not changing with Ben Johnson. That is a Dan Campbell DNA call right there, running the ball inside the 5. And what's great about David Montgomery is games last year, including the playoffs, he finished as running back 19 or better 12 different times. That's the kind of consistency that we're looking for, where you just don't get the dud games. You get the touchdowns from Montgomery, catches a few passes, always a part of the game plan, never gets totally phased out. So I think Montgomery is pretty safe. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, the only concern is the change in offense. But like you said, they're probably going to me, you would run it similar. It's worked for the last couple of years, so why would you deviate? Even if Gibbs does get more touches, the goal line carries have been still in the favor of Montgomery, but we do see Gibbs get some too. But yeah, Montgomery just has that kind of high floor, and maybe in redraft leagues you want a higher ceiling, but we're talking guillotine where you have to survive the week, and Montgomery is always a good bet to score a touchdown on a given week.
Maybe the lowest drafted starting running back in the league is Tyrone Tracy. Currently going up the board, running back 33. Not a special talent, although you did just talk about the Dallas running back situation. Way worse here. I think I'd much rather have Tracy than any of those guys. Let's make our case for Tyrone Tracy, a round ahead of standard draft position in guillotine. Giants offense has got to be better, right? No longer are we going to see Tim Boyle, Tommy DeVito, Drew Lock, Daniel Jones, all gone. We have Russell Wilson, and if Russell Wilson fails for some reason, injury, whatever, Jameis Winston. I mean, at least he can power an offense. So this offense looks to be better. And as you two know, Kendall, Adam, Tracy has only played the running back position for 2 years. He was 1 year in college, 1 year last year with the Giants. He's got room to get a lot better. They had an offensive line that had a bunch of injuries last year. He averaged 4.5 yards per carry, which wasn't bad with a broken offensive line, a broken offense. Cam Scatterbo's going to steal the rushing touchdowns. That's the given. But for guillotine, we want running backs who can catch. Tracy, converted receiver. They didn't throw to him a ton last year. I'd like to think it's going to get better this year. Although Antonio Gibson as a converted receiver never did get better. Kendall, tell me what you think here. Tyrone Tracy, somebody with he's your starting running back for the Giants. He's going to catch, 3-4 balls a game, get you 20, 30 extra yards through the air per game. I feel like he is the kind of player you could flex in your guillotine league.
This was the most surprising one for me, Paul, because and this is putting my Cam Scatterbo, I love
I know
him.
we
We're
do
former
too.
Sun, we're
Yes.
former Sun Devils. We got it. We just got to ride
Yes.
together. But it makes sense now for guillotine leagues because again, we're not talking fantasy. Guillotine leagues, the only thing that people probably worry about when drafting him anywhere is the drops fumbles, right? Because that's what last season really led to just the overall Tyrone Tracy discussion being like, okay, well, how good can he be? Because he had a habit. Tracy had what joined Brees Hall as the only running backs with more than 10 combined fumbles and drops last season. So that's the only thing I worry about. But week one, you go in there and they're not going to say, well, you lose the job right now. So I can see in guillotine leagues, I probably will draft more Tyrone Tracy in guillotine leagues than I will looking at redraft for sure.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, this next one, you're just going to have to go on faith a little bit.
Okay, let's
Have
hear
we
it.
talked about Jordan Mason yet?
No. Oh, no, but I'm excited for this. I'm ready because
Okay.
I love Jordan Mason.
So Jordan Mason is sitting on a double-digit touchdown season. He is going to be the goal line back for the Vikings. And the Vikings under Kevin O'Connell have never had a player who could get tough yards. Aaron
Yes.
Jones has never been that guy. Last year, 13 carries from inside the 5, -2 yards, and just 3 touchdowns on those 13 carries. Aaron
Mm-hmm.
Jones isn't that guy. Mason, 20 pounds more than Jones. And as you know, Kendall, I know you know this. Mason's really good. He enters the
Yes.
season as a 5.5 yard per carry guy. He won't catch, but that's okay. He's going to get touchdowns here. This is going to be way more of a 50-50 timeshare. And Kendall, I don't know if you know this. Aaron Jones, I had time to talk to Aaron Jones at the Vikings draft
Oh,
party.
okay.
He was there. I was hosting it in US Bank Stadium for KFAN. And I asked Aaron Jones, how is Jordan Mason going to fit into the rotation? He said, short yardage back. I mean,
Okay.
Aaron Jones told me that.
I love
So,
that.
I feel like that's a pretty reliable source.
Paul, you have to tell us when you're going to become an insider. You should have tweeted it. What are we doing here? We could have used that. No, first of all, yeah, shout out to you for getting that info. We were just talking about Jordan Mason and I love him because I think, Paul, it's more of a 1A, 1B situation. And you know the Vikings
Mhm.
very well. And, Aaron Jones, we were talking about the workload that he had last season. And to me, I look at the Jordan Mason signing and I said to myself, okay, he's going to be able to come in. It's going to be a 1A still, 1B situation, B being the Jordan Mason, but he's going to take work, hopefully, off Aaron Jones's shoulders because the workload that he had last season feels like maybe it's going to be hard to replicate. So then you come back in with a Jordan Mason type that's going to be ground and pound, that is younger, that can help you in that situation. And I really like this. I don't even think you need faith. I just really like this a lot. Do you think, though, you see it at the beginning? I think that's the question
Yep.
everyone for guillotine. Okay, you obviously do because you have them ranked
Mason.
that
Yeah,
high.
Mason's going to be a factor week 1 against the Bears. Bears are really tough to pass on, by the way, and the Vikings are going to want to bring in J.J. McCarthy on a low volume season and ask him to just merely be efficient. They're going to run the ball a lot more. And remember, the Vikings put a first rounder into left guard. They now have Ryan Kelly as their starting center, and their right guard is Will Fries, arguably the most coveted guard in free agency. The Vikings want to move man on the line of scrimmage, and they want to get that started immediately. Jordan Mason's my favorite sleeper of the whole year, and I've got him going 4 rounds earlier than standard
Ooh,
drafts in guillotine because you're going to get those touchdowns.
I love it. I love it. Need to look out for running backs in guillotine leagues.
One more guy,
All right.
Austin Eckler.
Ooh, just kidding. This is the most surprising to me.
Austin Eckler. So he carried my guillotine league teams last year. I drafted him everywhere in September and October. And eventually he doesn't have enough upside. When everybody's building superstar rosters in their guillotine leagues, eventually Austin Eckler isn't going to be good enough. But it's those 6 PPR points he gives you every darn game, right? It's the 4 catches, the 25 yards, and then he runs the ball 6 times for another 30 yards. And now I'm looking at 10 PPR points. And that's all I need in September and October is I need 10 PPR points from everybody. And I'm safe. I'm not getting cut. Austin Eckler's that guy. They didn't bring in anybody to compete with him or Brian Robinson. So I think the role is a lot like it was last year for Austin Eckler.
Adam, what do you think here? Austin Eckler?
Well, look, Paul makes good points about the format and what you need the first few weeks. Like what he said last week about Matthew Stafford, when you look at, the high floor and what he did when he had his full complement of weapons, you got to look at those things, and you kind of overlook those or bypass them in redraft. So Eckler, he does make a good point, because it's early in the season when you have the 18 teams. It sounds crazy, 7-8 points. Oh, that's not a big deal.
Yeah.
That could be the difference between you surviving.
Yep.
We've seen it. When you look at those bottom of the standings, you have one guy that gets you 1 or 2 points. It means elimination. So, yeah, the strategy in terms of early in the season, you get what you need out of Eckler. He keeps you alive, and then you move on and get a free agent because other teams are getting chopped.
It's such a big difference in Guillotine. You're drafting for September and maybe a little of October, and that's really it, because you're going to improve your team so much.
And
you
in
really
redraft
can,
leagues, a lot of people draft for, you hear it all the time, weeks 15 to 17. What's the playoff schedule? They're thinking long term. It's all about getting into the playoffs. So it is a different mindset, and I think it's great that you give people this wisdom as they jump into guillotine leagues, because it is a different mentality.
GuillotineLeagues.com. If you want to check out a Guillotine League, you want to maybe get in a sample draft, you can do that now. GuillotineLeagues.com. Guillotine Leagues app, downloadable on Apple iPhones as well.
I love it, and everyone should go and do that. We'll start a league here, Adam. I always say that, but I want to.
We
do
did
it.
last
We'll make
year.
it free.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was so fun. We did not do very well though.
No, I made it past you like I usually do it in our games
by
too.
like a week. Okay.
No, more
Anyways,
than that.
Here we go, Paul. Look at what chaos
Competition.
you bring.
Competition. It's good.
Paul, we appreciate you so much joining us, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, it sounds great. Bye-bye.
Awesome. There he goes. That was Paul Charchian going through running backs to target in Guillotine Leagues. So make sure you go to fantasylife.com. Check out all of our Guillotine Leagues content, though. And like Paul said, make sure you go download the app and then go to guillotineleagues.com and check it out there as well. It is great. We've got great new upgrades to the app, and we'll start a league. We'll do it closer once we get through a little bit more through training camp, so we're not so we're not just making huge mistakes with our drafts, but it'll be great, and I'll beat you this year. It'll be fun.
I can't even remember what my draft looked like in that league.
I couldn't even. I did a lot of Guillotine League drafts last year, though. They were just so fun, and it's also fun to get into a different kind of format where you just need to think totally differently. And it's the waiver wires were they were just as stressful as my redraft leagues, because you're sitting there with $1,000 worth of fab, and like he said, you've got these big stars. You've got Saquon Barkley and you've got Patrick Mahomes on the waiver wire going into week 3. And you just sit there and you're like, how much do I spend? What do I need to do? How do I continue to survive week by week? And it gets really difficult when you have the superstar teams, because everyone eventually has a superstar roster. And it's just one bad game from one player could just kill your week. It's so fun.
Yeah, it's a balancing act, because you want to survive the week, but you have an opportunity to pick up these elite players, and you kind of have to balance and figure out, okay, well, if I spend too much money and then that player doesn't produce, you wasted money. You know that there's going to be good players available on the waiver wire as the season goes along. So, yeah, it's a challenge. But as we've seen, it's probably best to be a little more on the conservative end of spending early in the season, kind of try and save that money.
Yeah, I was in a league with someone that spent all of their $1,000 in the first 3 weeks.
What?
They made it so far.
Really?
I wanted to, yes, I was shocked, but it was, and I can't remember.
They probably spent it on elite guys, maybe.
Yeah, they did.
If it was like Derrick, I can't imagine Derrick Henry getting eliminated early there, but it's certainly possible.
But if you're on a team though that everyone else did poorly that week, then
teams,
but he really did, and I wanted to laugh, but I was like, it's almost like the first couple weeks of the season, you're like, you can't do a victory lap too early. So I didn't say anything, but I was watching it, and he went farther than I ever thought that he would be able to. So there's different ways to do it. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think in redraft you see it more, like the year Puka Nacua was drafted as a rookie, he was a free agent in some leagues. So if you spent like 75-80% of your money, it was worth it. Philip Lindsay, the year he came out, like if you spent a lot of money. Yeah.
Nice.
So,
I forgot about him.
Because some people say, oh, save your money. But a lot of times, again, you got to hit on that player. Like after week 1, if you think that is legit and you spend, I've seen like in the high stakes league, 75-80% of the budget spent on a player. A lot of times it doesn't work out. I don't know if you remember this one for the Cowboys. Kevin Ogletree, he had a big game
Oh,
on
no.
people spent money and never did anything again. So you don't want to get caught in that trap. But
Yeah.
if you do find that player after week one that breaks out, and you go, I think this is legit. You spend your money. Now you got a player that's going to help you the rest of the season.
Let's see if we're spending big on the first rounders. I want to know some of these names. Are the first rounders worth it? We're going to give you those names coming up here next. Best friends. That's what we all are here. BFFs, Adam. You know, honest.
Based on that, Ani is not winning any awards for editing because you could tell that
No, I
is
couldn't tell. It sounded
clearly
very
edited.
clean.
I would never
No, it sounded
say
really clean.
such words like that.
Say it right now, and then he could get a
No.
clean cut. No? Okay.
Well, we are best friends.
We are-
So we got to go to a Mets game, but he usually goes to the games and doesn't tell me. So
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Or
he should assume that I'm there. If he's going to a
Mm.
game, like, hey, I'm going to the Mets game. Are you going to be there tonight? And more than likely, I will. I know he only goes on Tuesdays though.
because Tuesdays are the
Yeah,
the-
$5 hot dogs.
That sounds fun though. I'm gonna
pretzels,
be
beer.
honest. I'd go on Tuesdays too
why
if
not?
it was
I mean,
$5.
It's expensive enough for
Are the
everything.
tickets $5
No,
or just the food? Oh, okay.
just the food.
Hey, that's still worth it though.
And look,
Get a cheap
you
ticket,
get
get in the
people out on
door.
a Tuesday night.
I love it. I love it. Well, let's that's gonna be. I want to go. I see. I have FOMO. I'm over here on the West Coast. You guys can
You
come
haven't
down
been
here.
to City Field yet, have you?
No, I haven't. I know
Yeah.
they've got great food though, because I looked that up.
Yeah, they do. They always finish like number one. I think it's 3
They're-
straight years.
Yeah, I've been to a lot of the obvious West Coast stadiums. I've been to Cincinnati Reds game. Used to live there, so I've been over there.
How
but,
was that stadium?
It was fine. It was good.
Okay.
And then
Not
I
a-
went to Yankee Stadium 2 years ago.
Yeah, I don't
First
like
time. It was it
It's
was
not good.
underwhelming. It looked like a bank building on the
it.
outside.
Yeah, it does. It really
It's
does.
crazy. I don't know what I was expecting, but it wasn't that. But it was still cool. Like
I
it was
need to
still,
get to the West Coast. Have you been to San Francisco?
No, it's
Okay.
on my list though. That one is supposed to be amazing. Petco Park is also amazing.
Yeah, I want to go. Yeah, I
T-Mobile.
want to go to all of them.
You need to go to Seattle. T-Mobile is special. Safeco.
Yeah.
Still call it Safeco, but yeah, that's super special over there too. We could go on tour. Just do baseball and football at the same time.
Yeah,
What could
whenever
go
we hit
wrong?
the lotto, and then we can retire and just tour stadiums. That's the
Perfect.
goal.
Let's do it. There we go. So when we all win millions, just remember that that's what we're doing.
Although
going
you
into the
wouldn't be
season.
able to go though. 'Cause
Why?
you go to bed early.
Oh,
So you would.
no, if it's West Coast games though, I'm good.
Oh, okay.
East
Even
Coast,
if it's
not
even
even,
if
not
it's
even a
up till
chance.
10 p.m. You
Yeah,
can,
yeah. I'm
okay.
good. I'm
All right.
good. Yeah, we'll start in Anaheim, so it's close to my house, so I can just drive on home, and it'll be perfect. I wanted to bring up first rounders. There was a great article over at The Athletic. I recommend everyone go and read. But it was a question of, are the first rounders worth it in fantasy football this year? So per The Athletic, for the 2025 fantasy season, 33% turnover in the players being selected as first round picks. So it's a question of, do the newcomers really, deserve to have their faith put in by fantasy managers and being drafted as high as they are? So according to the NFFC's ADP, it's Malik Neighbors, it's Ashton Genty, Puka Nacua, Brian Thomas. They are all being now valued in the first round. The players that they're replacing are AJ Brown, Jonathan Taylor, Garrett Wilson, Brees Hall. So when I say those names, Malik Neighbors, Ashton Genty, Puka Nacua, Brian Thomas, I feel like Brian Thomas is the one that's always he's on the cusp right now. I think he was more expensive weeks ago, a couple months ago, and he was easily going as pick 10, pick 9, 10, 11. But now I see him falling more out of the first round in other drafts. But from all these names that I just gave you, do you think all are deserving to be there in the first round? Are you willing to put your faith in every single one of these guys if you're able to draft them?
Yeah, I would say yes. And the thing is, in all fantasy sports, we often get the first round wrong. You go back and look, and it's a consensus. Now, a lot of times injuries are a factor in that. So, like McCaffrey last year, injuries, even though, again, the signs were there. AJ Brown, the issue was, we talk about this, it's just volume. Like, he just
Yep.
didn't have it last year. On a per game basis, Brown is really good. And I do think that he will rebound. But you don't even need to take him in the first round. To me, sometimes you get him late second round, and I'm all in there because the Eagles have to throw more. You just look at what they did last year. I think they're going to throw more, and he's really good after the catch. And He's capable of having a huge games. Jonathan Taylor, yeah, you don't see him in the first round. You could
Yep.
understand that. Same with Garrett Wilson. We've he's going to get massive targets, but what's the target share with Justin Fields there? He could be good, but you can't take him in the first round. And
Yeah.
same
And
with
then
Brees
Brees
Hall.
Hall. Yep.
Yeah. So you understand the guys that are out, and now it's just a matter of have the right guys been put in, and it feels like yes, but it always feels like it.
It always feels like it right now. And then we review and we go, oh, that wasn't good, or this didn't work out. But like I said, to me, looking at the list, everyone's going to say yes to Puka, yes to Ashton Genty. Although I understand that some people look at just the Raiders offense as a whole and they say that, this isn't going to be this high scoring offense. So maybe they steer a little bit clear of Ashton Genty, but most are still taking him. And then Malik Neighbors, of course. But I want to talk to you a little bit more about some of these rookie wide receivers, more specifically looking at Brian Thomas Jr., looking at expectations from Malik Neighbors, maybe do a little ADP battle. Who you would rather have if you had a first round pick going into this season and they were both available. We're going to do that and more coming up next. As always, appreciate everyone hanging out with us right here, Fantasy Life on Sirius XM. Make sure you keep it locked, though. You've got RotoWire Fantasy Sports today with Jeff Erickson and Nick Whalen coming up next. Got a message here from Mikey saying Wrigley Field is a must visit also. I've been there. Shout out to you, Mikey. Thanks for listening. But amazing. I was cold though. Oh my gosh. Freezing.
Why? What month was it? April?
It was May.
Oh, okay.
And I just
guess it's
didn't
tricky there.
I had two layers on. I had the jacket, and everything, but I underestimated it. Had to go buy the $50 blankets that they sell. It's tough.
Damn, you just get ripped off in every city,
Hey,
huh?
listen, I was cold. There was no way I was going to go through the whole game cold. There's nothing worse.
$40 hot dogs, $50
whatever.
blankets.
I still have the blanket. So look, it's a
Okay.
it's a memento.
All right, at least you have it.
Yeah,
I need to go to
Wrigley is
Wrigley
sick.
Field. I've been to Fenway Park, but I have
Wrigley's
not been to
awesome.
Wrigley yet. So
Yeah.
definitely
I
have
need to
get
go
there.
to Fenway. That'll be fun. We'll just, like I said, we'll go on tour once you win the millions and you don't forget about us. It'll be fine.
What's your name
Everything will
again?
be great. Stop.
Okay.
Stop. Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr., just finishing out this conversation. Stop. Just finishing out this conversation of are the first rounders worth it, and just ADP battles. And it's really going to come down to obvious preference. But like I said, there was a 33% turnover in the players being selected as first round picks, according to The Athletic, with this NFFC's ADP. So when we look at the first round again, I'm curious for you, Malik Neighbors, if you have the choice. Brian Thomas Jr. has fallen out of the first round on Underdog. So it feels like kind of obvious there where a lot of people are going, but great expectations for both either way going into the season.
Yeah, I don't understand why Thomas is falling.
I don't either.
I'm very
It's got to
high
be
on
a
him.
Trevor Lawrence thing.
Well, why though? I mean, yes, the big numbers came with Mac Jones, but wasn't that also a part due to all the injuries that occurred where he was kind of the last man standing for Thomas?
Yeah. I just refuse to believe that Mac Jones was going to be better for Brian Thomas Jr. than Trevor Lawrence is this year.
Yeah,
I refuse to believe it.
If you believe in Liam Cohen, and I get it, Trevor Lawrence, he had that one good fantasy season, and the numbers were not as good with Trevor Lawrence. But when you have a player the caliber of Thomas, who also played through like a rib injury too, wasn't 100% at one point, I just don't see how it's gonna fail. And yeah, Travis Hunter was brought in, but that should help Thomas a little bit. And we don't even know either. Can Hunter play both sides of the ball without getting tired? Doing it in college and the NFL is completely different. So I think Hunter will help him though. And Thomas is going to command a huge target share. How's he not? What else do they have there?
No, you're exactly. I sometimes don't understand it, but it's good for me as someone who has very, very much said that I love drafting Trevor Lawrence. Thomas Jr. falls to me at the turn. I'm taking him almost every single time.
Oh yeah, it's a easy click. They talk to how they're going to use him in the slot as well. So yeah, I think that it's all good for Brian Thomas.
I'm just surprised when we talk about targets. Like this is another thing where we just chase the volume. Okay, you don't like Trevor Lawrence as much as we do. That's totally okay. But when you look at Brian Thomas Jr. with 137.5 target projection and that brings him, that's 6th among all wide receivers. That puts him up with Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Puka Nacua, Jamar Chase, Malik Neighbors. Malik Neighbors is getting more, 162. I think I said earlier that their wide receiver 2 is still projected for 100 targets in this offense. So Malik Neighbors does have the edge there, but Brian Thomas Jr. going outside of the first round is just, in some leagues, obviously not the NFFC, but it's just surprising.
Thomas is in the better offense, right?
Yes.
He is. I mean, we expect Neighbors to get probably a little bit improved quarterback play. He had to play with multiple quarterbacks last year. And the only thing with Neighbors is the touchdowns. We saw a stretch where he didn't score much, but the talent is there. The volume is going to be there. But I don't understand why Brian Thomas is falling.
Yeah. But between the two, I mean, Malik Neighbors for you, straight up?
It's actually Thomas.
It is.
But they're one
too.
spot apart.
It's in our rankings.
They're
Yes.
They're one spot
Look at us.
apart.
That's why we're all best friends. We just, we're just here living our life.
Yeah,
I
but
don't know how
Thomas
to-
is lower for some of the people. I don't get it.
I know. We'll figure it out in the next couple weeks. That's what we're definitely going to do. Appreciate everyone hanging out with us here today. Again, RotoWire Fantasy Sports Today with Jeff Erickson and Nick Whalens coming up next. Make sure you go to fantasylife.com. Use that code SXM20, gets you 20% off any tier 1 or tier 2 subscription. We'll see you same time here tomorrow.